Welcome to the first module of Customer Success Map. And together we're going to be running through what is customer success. My name's Summer. I'm a customer success manager, and I used to be a sales professional and customer facing professional for the entirety of my career. Now, if you're here, you're most probably wanting to understand how do my skills tie into customer success, and is it even a career or a pathway for me? We're going to help identify that together. Okay. So running through what we're going to do today, we're going to have a look at defining customer success, what the goals of a customer success manager or CSM are, how customer success differs from other customer facing roles, the growth of CS specifically within tech, and then also why sales professionals are the perfect fit for customer success. And the goal here is by the end of this initial module, it's going to be giving you a little bit of clarity around whether this is something that you would like to pursue and if you'd like to invest your resources. So let's move on and get into it. But I do have a very quick warning beforehand. This is the most important video in the entire course. Why? Because you're here now. If you move forward into something, invest a lot of your energy, time, and resources into building a different career than the one that you're in, and you don't actually qualify whether it makes sense for you and you're the right fit for it, you've wasted your time. So be present, be here, watch it on fast, 2x speed. I like 1.7 personally because I can still hear how someone communicates, but just make sure that you're present, put your phone away. Okay? So, yeah, covered that. Let's go. So we're going to define customer success, okay? So let's have a look. First part of defining customer success is looking at, well, what is a customer? If we actually break down the phrase into two individual words, if we take a generic description of what a customer is, it's a person or organization that buys goods or services from a business. Okay, what's success? That's the accomplishment of an aim or a purpose. And so we can infer from that that customer success is helping people who've bought a good or a service from the business to accomplish an aim or a purpose. Most probably the aim and purpose that they bought that good or service for, solving a problem of some sort. And it's interesting here to pause, and if you have gone steps 1, 2, 3 down the rabbit hole a little bit and you've been looking at roles online, you may see that there are many different measurements of success when it comes to the role. And it's a really great place to look to understand whether this truly is actually a customer success position. Is this role helping this customer accomplish the aim or purpose that they bought the product for? And you have to stop and think about whether the job title truly can capture the day-to-day actions that you're doing as a customer success manager, because there are a lot of roles out there that say they're customer success, and what they really are is something else with a fancy title. It's kind of like marketing to candidates to get them in. So this is where some scrutiny really is required. The next piece here is to think about the goals of what a customer success manager are. And so jumping in, we're thinking about protecting and growing revenue at its core. And the concept that we're looking at here is CAC versus LTV. So here, the cost of acquisition versus the lifetime value of that customer. CAC will always increase as a market decreases in size or as a company has to expand to different markets. So it is something that will always increase. The lifetime value is something that can always be increased. And you've already paid the price of marketing, commission to the salespeople, and any other pieces that go into delivering the service to get that customer and acquire them. The goal here is to be able to keep them, retain them, and grow them, expand them. So here you have your GRR, which is your gross retained revenue. So at the start of the year, how much did I have? At the end of the year, how much did I have of that original amount? And that caps out at 100%. And you have your NRR, which is your net retained revenue, and that includes any of your growth, so expansions and additional dollars that are spent. what we're looking at is moving into the customer journey. So customer success, it depends upon the organization, but it typically is capturing a portion of your customer journey after they've made the decision to actually join on as a customer and they made their purchasing decision. And here you're looking at implementation, onboarding, adoption, renewal, and expansion. Typically, these are key pivotal moments in the life of the customer, and they kind of live in that adoption, renewal, expansion. Imagine that as a circle that's continuously going. And so the interesting thing here is that depending on the organization, implementation, onboarding, that might be handled by a slightly different portion of the company based on their size and maturity. But when you're boiling it down, it's easy to think about customer success as delivering on the promises made at the start of the sales cycle. And so the implementation and the onboarding phase is really, really the key moment to frame what a customer's life is going to look like. And so it still falls under the purview of customer success, even though some roles as a customer success manager may not necessarily incorporate that. Something to think about here is if you have a complex product, you have a new solution owner who comes in and they don't have any skills, they don't have any knowledge. You need to go back in and onboard them. So even though you may not be responsible for onboarding as a part of the customer's journey, if your customer is in fact not the business, but a person within the business, then they might need their own journey themselves. And these are the things that as a CSM, you're thinking about. So what do you actually do? Okay, well, as a CSM, what do I actually do? I send emails, I run meetings. They have different titles, but I'm running meetings. I look at numbers to draw conclusions so that I can provide evidence and compare those numbers against other numbers, such as a baseline across our customer base. And then I make recommendations, and they may be recommendations for the product. They may be recommendations based upon the specific industry that my customer works in or the shared department that we're handling. I work within a space that touches all of the go-to-market organization that's customer facing, from marketing through to closing at the end, so from click through to close. And so I'm engaging every single day with 4 main personas, and each of those have a different desire and a different goal with the product. And it can make it kind of complex. The piece here is bridging the gap. So internally, think about yourself as a link in the chain, the link between the customer and their business and your business. And so here you get to sit in the middle. It's a little bit stressful sometimes, but what happens is you're able to see what promises are being made by sales, and we keep them. What goals have the product team got? What are their big bets that they're working on at the moment? And do they align with the pain points that we're actually experiencing in the day-to-day flow? And a part of your goal is to feed that information back through to the product team and feed that information back through to the sales leadership or the individual salesperson that hands off to you, and to refine this flow so that from the very, very beginning, the experience for your customer is smooth. Now we're going to quickly dive into how CS differs from other customer-facing roles. So how does CS differ from other customer-facing roles? First, you need to have a look at the company maturity. The bigger a company is, the more likely they are to have specialist roles within customer success. The smaller a company is, or the less mature it is, the more likely they are to have generalist roles. You have startups that have a single person who handles everything in post-sales. You have gigantic enterprise companies that have the customer journey broken down into the smallest possible pieces, because that way they can service a wider number of customers. You might have someone who is a renewal specialist who comes in to make sure that a customer renews, and they handle very specific parts of that journey. So having a look at the different roles you might encounter, we have support. We're going to think about, okay, great, the goal of customer success. What is that? To deliver on the promises or the specific purpose that a customer used to buy a product or service. So what's support doing? Typically, they are reactive. They're very problem focused. They're more hands-on a lot of the time, and they're measured through solving tickets and satisfaction a lot of the time. So here, what we're thinking about is, okay, so what are they really doing? They are taking care of a part of the customer achieving their goal. They're fixing things when they're broken. But is that truly ensuring that a customer is successful? Not really. It's taking care of things that don't go right. So you need to be aware that if you're solving tickets and you're measured on CSAT, that this may not be a customer success role. Account management. This one's kind of confusing. So an AM has an extremely commercial focus. They're thinking about negotiation. They're thinking about numbers. And they are measured a lot of the time, depending on the company, on renewals and expansions. So this is where we've got to go back to that first point and think about the company maturity. If you think about account management as a skill that a customer success professional has in their belt, or even a post-sales professional has in their belt, it becomes really clear. So this is where that role, what are you doing, versus title, what are you called, is extremely important. You may have an account manager role in maybe not in tech, and they're responsible for ensuring that the customer gets what they said they were going to get so that they renew. That's pretty much customer success, isn't it? And so this is where opening your mind into reading account manager roles and reading customer success roles and understanding, what am I going to be doing on a day-to-day basis? Who am I speaking to? So customer success manager is often speaking to an end user who is physically utilizing the product, and a solution owner who's maybe thinking about the strategic approach to where that product's going to grow in their tech stack. And an account manager may be speaking to an executive level presence and the solution owner to ensure that the longer term commercial partnership makes sense. You have account managers who do customer success, and you have customer success managers who do account management. So stay open-minded on that piece. You have a technical account manager. So this one here is typically, I like to think about it as like a really white glove support, as well as strategic and operational guidance for really complex products. Once again, it could be considered a subset of the customer's success, but it is missing the value delivery portion of a customer success manager, where you're helping the customer to understand what value they have received from the product or the service. And this piece is really what we want to think about. A lot of other people make promises. When you're selling someone, you're promising an outcome of some sort. In customer success, you have to keep the promises and work with the customer to make sure that they get what they think they're going to get, or that they think they got what it is that they said they were going to get. And there's another piece there, is shaping perception with what you have and doing your best to be able to help them see wins when a lot of people naturally only see problems. So we're going to jump into why now is a really interesting time in customer success in tech in general. Now, it isn't just in tech. Customer success exists everywhere as a function. But in tech, it's a really exciting time, and it's very interesting. So if we're thinking back, we go, okay, great, like what's the goal of a company in general, right? At the moment, broadly, in tech, typically an investor is looking for a return on their money at the highest end. And that company may have raised funds from an external source, so an investor of some sort, and that external source wants to see return, right? So then if you think about the goal of the company, it was and can be top line growth, more new, getting more customers in, trying to capture as much of a total addressable market as possible. And it doesn't really matter if you're a top line growth focused company, what the cost of acquisition of that customer is. You're trying to outspend your competition to win the market share and become the dominating influence there. And so I just covered. So when COVID happened, And in the years after 2020 through 2023, there was a bit of a shift in the focus of companies in order to be able to deliver the investors the return on their money. And due to the change in interest rates and the change in the cost of funds, profitability became a really core focus and a metric that investors were looking for. Profitability comes from making sure that you're making more than you spend fundamentally. And so the old approach of spending and outspending your competition no matter the cost, because money was cheap, the cost of acquiring the funds was lower, that strategy was no longer appropriate for most companies to maintain a positive image in the investors' eyes, because the investors were looking for a different thing to measure. And so they started measuring profitability. Now we need to think about, well, how much is every customer worth? We can't just pay $100 to acquire a customer and then they're worth $40 and we lose them after $40 and then we have to go spend another $100 to get another customer and they're worth $40. You can see we have a $60 deficit. And the thought is if we spend $100 to get that customer and then if we keep them for 3 months, they're worth $40. But if we keep them for 8 months, they're worth $80. And we don't have to pay that extra $100 to acquire them again. So we have an extra $40 of profit. What if we could get it even longer? What if we could make them a lifetime customer? What if we could identify different problems that they have and grow our partnership with them so that our product or our service is embedded within their whole business flow? Then they could be worth $1,000. So the goal here is to think about the lifetime value of the customer from a commercial perspective, and then to dig in and go, well, what problems are they experiencing? What problems do we solve? And how can we use the original promise that was made to solve whatever that problem was to prove that we can do what we say we can do, and then earn the right to solve those other problems for them. And so now there's a greater focus on customer success as a revenue generating center for a company versus a cost center. So a place that gets let go first. It doesn't really tie itself to the customer's ultimate success or the revenue of the company. And so that's why it's an exciting time, because there is an increased focus and a shift in customer success to move from like a white glove customer satisfaction style into a more commercial, quantitative style where you're helping shape perceptions, which is a little bit like what any sales professional does. This is why sales professionals are the perfect fit for customer success in this current market. So let's get into it. Why are sales professionals the perfect fit for customer success? All right. So they're already comfortable, you're already comfortable and experienced working with a quota and performing with the psychological pressure of a quota. If you're being measured on the renewal or expansion of a customer, and you're not necessarily meeting that goal, then that can impact people really severely in their quality of life. If you've already been in sales, you've gone through that process. Never comfortable, but you understand how to be able to perform in that scenario. For some people, simply you're not cut out for it. You've got the soft skills because you're already working with people and their perceptions in order to transfer belief about a product or a service, solving a problem of some sort, and help somebody to make a purchasing decision. You're working with their emotions, you're working with numbers, and you're working with their specific goals and language to be able to help them see that your solution is the right one for them. And sometimes in customer success, they're going to want to go do some stupid shit. And what you need to do is help move them towards a pathway that makes more sense for their goals. You need to sell them on that particular outcome, maybe through a story and maybe through connecting them to a different person internally within your organization. But the fundamental premise here is that you have the skills to show up with energy on a bad day. You have the skills to run a meeting and understand the flow from end to end. you have the skills to be able to write an articulate email, and you understand that more words aren't necessarily better, and how to tailor your communication to different levels within the business. So there are already so many little micro skills that will accumulate to make the transition less risky for your prospective employer, because you're more likely to succeed, and also less risky for you when moving into a different role. If you're thinking about key moments, if you're in sales, typically there is a buyer journey of some sort, right? Whether you're using Salesforce and it's moving through a pipeline, there's some sort of series of stages which articulate the customer's journey, or a funnel. And so while in customer success it looks a little bit different, you still have key moments, and you still have a customer journey and different phases that they move through, and you're able to understand that you need to deliver some sort of information or result in order to move them to that next step. Or maybe you need to engage a different person within the company and qualify them with whatever the framework that you happen to use is. You're familiar with using scripts or frameworks, and I think that a really key piece here is that people who aren't innately ambitious, and even if that's ambitious for you to learn as an individual, if you don't have a deep drive to perform, then you won't necessarily capitalize on the amazing opportunities for career growth that exist in customer success, now that it is more closely tied to revenue. And naturally, for someone who's been in sales, I don't think that a lazy person can succeed in sales. They may find the path of least resistance and then be efficient and highly skilled, but it requires the ability to get up and go after something, after a defeat. The last piece here, and this is arguably the most important, is understanding the power of questions to qualify problems that you're given and then to quantify the pain of those problems. Because a part of the perception of value is to help direct the customer's eyes towards, okay, this is the problem I had. This is how much this problem is costing me right now in whatever the resources are. And this is the upside of the solution that you've presented. Then you document that. And then now you have an achievement or a milestone that's been accomplished that's tied to a very numerical ROI for that company to be able to deliver, to help shape their perception and to show that you have delivered on the promises that were made to solve the problems. So in summary, really quickly here, identifying if customer success is for you, just stop and think about it for a second. Have you done it before? So look over your own professional journey. Have I been responsible for any of these things that we've covered off? And then finally, what to do next? Let's jump to the next module.